All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Talking That Talk Official Podcast, where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I'm your host, Juice, aka No Ordinary Brother.
All right, what's good, world? I go by the name of King Exodus. As always, welcome back to your favorite show. If this is your first time tapping in, welcome home. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you share the video on IG. Alrighty, so we got a couple of fun things we're gonna do before we get into the main event for tonight. First thing we kind of tap into, it was a picture of a father that it went viral, so to say. It went pretty viral. He had his little man on his lap. They took a picture in a matching office, and he kissed the son in the mouth. And some people asked the question, is this type of behavior appropriate? First off, I would just like to say salutes to that father. I can't really, judge to particular extents and whatnot. That's just not my style, like kissing kids in the mouth. This is not my thing, man. As adults, I understand we love our kids, but I know we do a lot of things with our mouths and whatnot. Feel me? So I don't think that's the most sanitary, healthiest choice to make. Teach his own. Love your kid how you love your kid. That's just not my thing. I'm not sharing eating utensils with a kid. We ain't sharing drinks. I ain't kissing you in the mouth. Like, it's just gonna be boundaries there. That's just me. I'm a germaphobe. You know what I mean? But like I said, I know as adults what we do. You feel me? That ain't the play for me. So I would just simply say that's not really my thing. And yeah, I don't have no negatives to it. That's just my only negative. As adults, we know what we be doing. And kids, they got bad habits. Not like ours, but they got bad habits. So, yeah, you got it. I think about not just fathers kissing their sons in the mouth, but period. Parents kissing their kids in the mouth.
Uh, Honestly, man, I never understood it. I never understood it. Like, I guess to me, it would be like more of I would like to learn why the mouth, you know what I'm saying? The cheek, the hand, the arm, stuff of that nature. So one thing I say about the picture, I was just like, okay, he's doing his own thing, right? Gary Vaynerchuk still kisses his father in the mouth to this very day as a grown man. So, well, reason why I brought that up is because we can sometimes look at our culture or our ethnicity as like, yo, you're not supposed to do that. But I see people in many different other cultures still do that, and their kids be grown. So I more so would like to understand what's the connection basis of kissing your flesh and blood in the mouth opposed to the cheek, or just a handshake, just stuff like that. I like I said, I just more so want to understand why. Like X said, it's like, listen, let's say you've been on Earth for 40 years, you just had a child, right? Your mouth been on different things for 40 years, and then now you just like I don't know, man. I don't know, right? And we also got to remember that kids. Not saying every child does this. Kids eat whatever's on the ground. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what could come back to you at the same time as you trying to be that comforting parent. Like, oh, because like I said, I never understood it. I know the game took some heat when he kissed his daughter in the mouth a little while ago. He's like, that's my daughter. I can do that. That's my daughter. But as it says, you get older and grown, some people look at you as it weird. But I would also say this. Depending on your standpoint as a man, how you looked at is why it's looked at as like something gross or something like, oh, I can see that. Reason why I say that, if you look at the game, tattoos, big guy, we know his past, we know his history. He has the rugged type, muscular stuff like that. So seeing him do something like that, you think that's like out of the norm. You would think he would want to just hug his daughter or shake his son's hand, stuff like that. Now, if we look at somebody, let's say, for instance, we'll say the Dandy, right, off of 48 Laws of Power. If a man was a dandy. It's a certain apparel appearance type. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, for instance, if Prince kissed another man in the mouth, I don't think people be like, oh wow. People be like, yeah, it's Prince, man. We'll give him a pass. We know him to dress a certain way and do things a certain way. Versus if you already have a certain personality type or characteristic types or something that's defined, then I feel like that's when people put in their mindset like it's a problem. That's just me talking. Just gotta remember.
Yo, Prince like the only man get a pass
For
in
everything.
Jordan.
For
You
everything.
don't even be like, yo, but that's left or right, you know. But that's Prince though.
Prince,
That's how he
listen,
started off. It's
Prince,
Prince though.
Rick James. It's about five good of them that can get away with anything. Anything.
Yeah,
Anything.
yeah. Prince had the leather pants with the whole. That's another story. All
Yeah.
right. Another announcement. Moving on. Lil Wayne kissed Birdman. Yeah, that happened. That happened. I didn't listen to Lil Wayne for a long time because of that. You know what I mean? So keeping it moving. Another announcement. Tyler Perry, congratulations to that brother. He purchased VH1 and BET as well.
Mhm.
I think that's the first time BET was owned by a black man, if I'm not mistaken. Or am I wrong about that?
First
Black
time,
man,
no, first time black man has owned VH1, but
VH1.
now
Okay.
VH1 is re-owned by a black individual. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So shouts out to that man. You know, that man's doing great things. I know he got his they say the man house, I want to say in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's acres upon acres. I think he got his own exit off the freeway to get to his house. Just shouts out to that man, man.
I need my own exit.
Yeah, he got his own exit. It started with $1 and a dream. You know what I mean? And he
Don't
kept
forget he was
moving.
homeless.
He
That's
was
what I think.
homeless.
Listen, he was homeless.
He was
Put the
homeless.
work.
You know, some people want to take their shots and be like, I started with a dress. We ain't talking about that right now. We just gonna give a man his honor and his praise for his accolades as a successful black man, doing things that we've never seen done before. I think he was the first black man with his own studios as well. So yeah, shouts out to that guy.
Mhm.
Another place we can take it before we get into the main event. Aisha Curry. Uh, man, her and Sierra just kind of had a moments. But so apparently Aisha Curry was on a television show, and a guy came out. You know, he ain't have on no shirt, dude was in shape, cut up, ripped up, you know, abbed out, all that thing ladies like. Um, and she just couldn't hide her composure. She was just showing, oh yeah, you know, dude was attractive. I'm feeling it. And then she started like wrestling with her wedding ring on the finger and shit like that, and everybody was just laughing. So social media took it to storm. You know what I'm saying? The internet has no soul, and content creators jump on things as
Immediate.
quick as possible. We ain't making an episode about it. We just bringing it up because it sparks a bigger question on like at face value, how does this promote or sell marriage to other individuals, males in particular, who already have their doubts about it, who already got their fears, you know what I mean? Where you see a quote unquote a high value man, even though he's an athlete, he's clean cut, no drama, no charades, no smut on his name. He don't even have tattoos like that. This is one of the most clean cutters we can get. You know, took his endorsements. His family actually goes to damn near every game. This is the golden guy of the fucking NBA that we're talking about. And these are the things that his wife is consistently doing to kind of quote unquote embarrass him in the public eye. So I'll let you get your spin on that, man. My thing.
Man, my bad. I had to straighten out my shirt for a second. Oh. But listen, I don't remember. I don't know if y'all remember when Aisha Curry was the example of what everybody wanted as a wife at one point in time. So, oh, get an Aisha Curry. Yeah, did you see Aisha Curry how she carries herself? It's all of a sudden it's like went on a decline. Constantly, constantly, this man gets disrespected by his woman, but at the same time, I always say you still hear nothing about Steph. You hear nothing about Steph. You I don't think you'll ever hear something about Steph. I think Steph moves, and I think he takes his image very personally, right? I'm clean cut man, very Christian, In fact, I remember I was reading an article. The reason why he went to Under Armour for his shoes was because he wanted to put a Bible verse on there. I forgot the exact verse, but that's why he proceeded on to it. So I'm like, yo, this man is clean cut. He knows what he's doing. But as time went on, we seen his wife get a little bit loose. Now, playing, like, even just the playing part was kind of cringy to me, right? Because like I said, it's still a history of her behavior before then that has happened, where she clearly just like doesn't care. Like, it's things you have conversations in private and not public. If you're on the air, be conscious of what you're saying. Be conscious of what you're doing. You know who was trying to stop her? Jenny Mott. Jenny Mott was like, hey, yo, chill. Like, what are you doing? And I think that was interesting that she was trying to stop her from that. One thing I'll say, what you said earlier, I'm going to answer that. When you said, hey, listen, how does that promote men to wanting to get married to women? And if they do actions like that, it doesn't. I have met plenty of women in my life. When they get mad at their husband, they take their ring off. And every time I ever seen that, I was just like, bro, I wouldn't even I don't even want to talk to you. That's so disrespectful. It's like, you can get mad at a man, take off the ring, and forget you're married to him. Or when he acts right, I'll put the ring back on. So even like just playing with it, if it's not in a, you know what I'm saying? If you're not taking off because you about to shower, you about to play sports, it's something of that nature, you should forever keep that ring on to keep yourself in a conscious manner that you are taking, right? I bring up a situation within Power. When Method Man was stepping out, what happened? He took that ring off. He took that ring off. But what I'm saying, is there's a conscience being played to why you would take the ring off versus keep it on within that time. That's all I got.
What Jay say? We both know what we do in this room. Don't forget to put your ring back on. Hey, I would just simply say to a lot of people, probably females would probably be like, yo, it's not a big deal. A lot of women that's on a different level will be like, it's a big deal. Sometimes, well, fuck it, all the times when you get married, you damn near have to sacrifice a part of your personal image to a certain extent, because at the same time, now your image becomes a collective image and not an individual image. So whatever you do that can be traced to any type of negativity is now traced back to the marriage, the family.
If you trace back as a collective.
Whether that assets that's owned by this name, like everything happens on this type of scale. So if you're definitely, all these women want to marry men that make six figures and higher and marry these famous men. But it's like, okay, are you willing to sacrifice your personal life and your image to get what you want? You can't have one without the other. This is a binding session. If you're gonna be quote unquote involved with a man that's well known, popular, all these different things, yeah, it's gonna come with the money, the accolades, the status, the ability to have access, but you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot in order to maintain that relationship and live within that relationship. So you can't be in that type of relationship and still move as if you're like a victim or a prisoner at the same time, and you feel a big need to just express yourself. You gave that up. You should marry a normal person that no one knows. So just words to the wise, be careful what you ask for. When you want, even if you just represent a company, all right, fuck it. I work for an off-brand company. I work for a company that's not really popping like that. You might have more leeway to be free. Well, when you work for companies that's more in that Fortune 500 space, you really don't have that much freedom. And that's just a job. We're talking about family, marriage, and all these things. So the higher you move up in rank, yeah, you lose freedom. unless you're at a couple billions, maybe you can move how you want to move. But it's still going to be a space of people within the wealth world, the wealth standard, that's still going to judge you. All right. So I'm just throwing it out there to y'all. I don't know what y'all think life is, but the higher you move up in rank, the higher you move up in income, well, you actually sacrificing your freedom because now it's a lot more at stake versus the average person that ain't got shit to lose. So, words to the wise. Anything else you want to throw out in the current event?
Oh man, no. I mean, the other thing I was gonna add to that is like, remember, listen, as X is saying, listen, your life's monitored in and out of the
Mhm.
job.
Yeah,
Athletes on and off the field. It's
on the low.
your key asset now in the
Mhm.
brain. So that's why I always said, listen, go to that next level. Listen, we need you a little more family oriented. You know, somebody that might be interested in, making that stuff happen with you. Hey, look, you go get that tap.
Mhm. Right. Okay. Cool. I like that. I like that. Going into the topic, you want to introduce the topic?
Oh,
Human nature.
yeah. Okay, cool. All right, y'all. Tonight's episode is human nature accountability. How did this subject come about? I always have conversations with X. Y'all really miss the best stuff we talk about that's not on this. That doesn't come on this podcast.
Gloves off.
Real raw. But I was talking to him about actions, activities that I see people don't do versus what people will do.
Mhm.
I told him, listen, man, I'm leaving the club. It's about like 3 in the morning, right? I'm driving down the street. I just happened to look to the right when I got off the freeway, and there was a person laying down. I see a person like next to him, and they're giving them water. And immediately my mind was pull over, go see if they need help. But I had already seen assistance was already on the way. And I always ask myself, I wonder if our life is monitored by what the things we see and what we do immediately, right? Like, is
Mhm.
there somebody watching us that when shit goes, when they know you can assist or show some type of help, they look at you from above, be like, oh, okay, let me put that down. Like,
Right.
after, like, when they weigh you for, your goodness and your bad and your deeds, I always ask myself in moments like that, are we always being judged for, common decency, like I said, kindness, offering, or whatever it is, it goes really big. If I see somebody struggling with groceries, I really stop in groceries. I see women trying to grab a pack of water. I'm like, excuse me, do you need help with the assistance with the water? I talked about that several times. I see a woman taking out some trash and I just happen to be outside, I grab it from her. If I see a dude that's in a situation that I might understand when it comes to a car, I give that assistance. It's like, where's I could say, the empathetic actions, courtesy, the common decency, the common grounds? Does that still exist within individuals today? That's why I wanted to share some light when it comes to human nature accountability. Like I said, human nature is also ugly. It's also brutal. But more so, I wanted to talk about the lighter actions of doing something great, something, like I said, empathetic, something that's, uh, how can you say, everlasting, impactful, right? Last thing I'll say, and then I'm gonna leave it to you, is I'll never forget a day in my life, right? Um, I was riding with my mom one day, and we was passing this bus stop. It was a woman that was pregnant, and she had the carriage, and she also had a child. My mom immediately pulled over. Was like, "Hey, where you going?" She was like, "Well, I'm going here and there." It's like, "Listen, get in the car. It's hot outside. Let me put some AC on you." Right? We didn't know her. I know I didn't know her. I thought maybe my mom knew her. You know what I'm saying? But in that immediate reaction, after we dropped her off, she was happy. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't the son no more. Kids got to where to go. And I remember like asking her, like, what made you do that? She was like, listen, I know what it's like when to be in that situation because I was in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And you don't know what other people go through uh, when being in that position, right? You don't know if she's about to be too hot. She might have a stroke. She's already pregnant. She has another child. We don't know how long this bus is going to take. It's in the heat. So I don't mind doing the smallest things to help another person out, especially if it'll make their day. And like I said, it was just that tiny little moment on Beamer Road. Yeah, that's back on the south side, baby, southeast. Uh, and it's just like stuck with me, And I tell her that every day, like, hey, listen, you helped me kind of see the world in a different light when I was a child. when it comes to the activities with other individuals, even if I don't know.
Okay. All right. All righty. Um, I travel back a little bit. One of the things that we always like to make fun of people is we call them hoteps. If a brother is being conscious, you're like, oh, you're a hotep.
Mm.
Like that's the negative correlation, right? That we've attributed to somebody being conscious. But in all actuality, hotep would be like ancient Egyptian or Kemetic, and it means peace, right?
Yes.
Hotep is peace, but it's not just peace. It's also peace within the form of bringing out an offering, right? So you're bringing something to establish and create peace as well. So it's not just basically peace. So what is that saying? That um, you bring peace within the sense in order to create peace and for you to receive peace in exchange. And that goes to Ma'at. So before we get to heaven and hell, before we get to this whole afterlife thing, the first concept of it came from ancient Egypt. So you have as your heart weighed against the scale of a feather,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on which way it weighed, it determined if you was able to become an ancestor, quote unquote, or you got devoured on the spot, right? So your heart was weighed against the scale on a feather. So what is that saying per se? Is pretty much tapping into what you were saying, that you wonder if every moment that happens in your life that you can offer some type of assistance, be it so it is within the correct space, because sometimes you can offer assistance, but it's not necessarily the correct time and place to
Right.
do it. That this
Thank you.
happens
Thank you for
as
clearing that
well.
up. Thank you for clearing that up. Yeah.
This is why we got the scales. You feel me? So pretty much all this is drawn back to ancient antiquity and ancient times. And it's just pretty much saying just be a good person when it's the time to be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can be a good person in a bad situation. And I'm not saying that your God, your creator, your religion don't give you credit for that. But we find out that energetically that can take away from a person's energy. They could take away from that aura because you're constantly giving in the situation and you're not receiving anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're being drained out. We see a lot of times where, let's dumb it down to where a young black male can come up, make a couple of racks, start finding his way. Before he even make a million, he's doing this for his mama, he's doing this for his grandma, he's doing this for this uncle, this auntie, blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, he back broke. You know what I'm saying? He was doing good at first. So now this type of energy based on him being good, quote unquote, puts him back in a negative space to where you're back hungry again. Now you're back at ground zero trying to figure out how are we going to get back all this money and then some. So it's sad to say, like, sometimes being good is just really being quote unquote selfish within a particular capacity that we can actually build ourselves up to a particular point to then we can help people more. And then we still have to have our cutoff limits. You know what I mean? So I'm down with the whole human nature only evolves based on humans giving back to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to build ourselves up to a particular fashion and point to where we actually can have more to give back. So I know a lot of people come up and you may be the first person to make, I don't know, let's say $10,000 in your family. To your family, you're a millionaire. You got it. You know what I mean? You may be the first person to make $80,000, $90,000 a year. Who knows? To your family, you're a millionaire. You got it. So people balance out. I'm the kind of person, I have these type of conversations with a lot of friends. It's like, okay, bet if you hit the lottery, if you had 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, what would you do? All that. I know some people say, look, I give everybody ample amount of money off the rip. And I'm like, that ain't me. That ain't me. Like, if I'm going to give you money and I came into a great access of money, I need to see um, I need to see your finances. I need to see everything on the balance sheet. I need to see if we're talking about you being an entrepreneur or an investor or whatever. I need to see what are your moves, what are your plays. The more serious you take life, the more serious I'll actually consider investing into you or quote unquote helping you, right? We have companies like Apple. Apple wouldn't be Apple if it wasn't for Bill Gates. Bill Gates dropped out like 150 million, uh, right, in the beginning stages back in the day for this just to happen. Sometimes people will really take you serious, and this happens in the business world a lot. If you really are on your ish, so to speak, everything's laid out, concrete, 100%. Investors don't mind putting money into it. But if you bullishing and you just, you know what I'm saying, you're not like having everything down concrete, you probably want to attract the right investors and the right people to make the right moves at the right time. So, needless to say, peace and giving back is a great thing. I won't take that away from anybody, but just make sure you're investing your energy into the right places. So you got it.
All right, all right. Human nature accountability. There's the primal stages, right? Where people say like, people more primal. When you're more primal, sometimes you're more vicious, you're more aggressive, but at the same time, they'll talk about even being primal. You still know the wrong and right things to do, right? If we talk about animals, there's animals who, let's say, it's a dead animal. They're about to devour, right? There's animals that will try to take the meat for themselves, and there's animals that are literally like, all right, man, listen, we're gonna go ahead and divide this up naturally amongst themselves. So when it comes to certain activity, you want to be conscious of, are you doing your share when it comes to dividing things up that you have that's in front of you or that's brought to you. Uh, I see somebody had put in the comments was like, hey, we need more chivalrous acts. I do believe in more chivalrous acts, but I also believe in the reciprocity of things that are being chivalrous. Hey, be able to do something that's what's the word I want to say? Uh, an equal exchange of energy from chivalrous. I forgot the word.
Reciprocity.
I want to say reciprocity, but there's another word for it. But even with those actions, that's what makes a world become healthy. That's what makes the environment become healthy. That makes the community become healthy. You gotta remember when humans were separated, it was chaotic. So once they got together and they got together, like, listen, 10 of us, we'll build your house first, and then we need everybody else to help build the houses. Okay, that's what made it done. That's why the Amish community thrives so well off of human nature and activities amongst the codes they have amongst themselves. When something gets built, all the men go to work. Anytime a church, somebody's getting married, oh, we need another house because they all go to work together, right? It's like a code or something that's in sync within them that has to work together. But the way society is now, some reason working together is on the benefit of, all right, listen, I'm gonna get what I can from you, and then I'm done here. And this is one of the things why I say a lot of people don't go far. People want to know that you're able to reach back and still help out. I talk about going to the next stage of my life. I understand in situations and scenarios, environments I'll be going to. If I'm 80, they're expecting me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's already a code and conduct of how things are properly done here. That's what keeps us thriving. That's what keeps this organization going. So you do got to be careful of individuals who will leech off of you, but you also do want to be conscious of the ones who help you, how to be beneficial within their life and bring somebody else up from their end or on your end to go to the next level. So, you rant right there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That gets on to my next point, greed. I hate when a lot of people say greed is like a human instinct and this is just what we do. And I don't know, like it's problematic. But even if you look at it on the scale to like nation building, right? Um, if you follow the American structure of how America became America, then you can look at like greed. You know what I'm saying? 100%. You look at what China is doing. It could be considered greedy. You know what I'm saying on the scale, but they're also diplomatic enough to look at other nations as resources to collaborate with, while at the same time being greedy. China is offering countries like what the World Banks did to put Africa in debt. Look, we're going to front you all this money. I know you can't pay it back. I know that. I'm going to give you the money anyway. I'm going to build your infrastructure. I'm going to do all these things for you. But really what I'm doing is I'm enslaving you, right? So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to own you because I'm giving you money that I know you can't pay back. China is doing the same thing, right? They're building infrastructure in other countries, knowing these countries can't pay them back. So now they're taking rights over resources that these countries have, right? In order to make them a superpower because they're trying to compete with America. So to them, being greedy is just part of the process. But who we affect within the process. So, and that even goes back to the flip side. You look at BRICS, BRICS. We have a collaboration of nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and they're open for applicants. I think they got like 20 countries trying to join right now. Egypt just made it. Uh, 3 or 4 other countries just made
I know Japan was. I know Japan
it.
was thinking about it. I don't know if they ever proceeded.
Right. They trying to get down with it. So you're looking at it from that perspective. Look, at the same time, while being greedy, they still kind of helping other people at the same time. Needless to say, capitalism puts us within the state of greed. Um, Even if we're just doing business with each other, even if it's on the street level, we understand consignment. We understand fronting people, right? Giving somebody the ability to come up ground zero, pay us back later. And then you got some people that feel like if I started your journey, whether it's illegal, legal, whatever, you owe me for life because you wouldn't
Life.
be where you're at if it wasn't for me. So I gotta let you know everything I put you on. I gotta constantly keep that shit in your ear. I got like greed is not just it's not just financial. It's on every aspect. Sometimes people could be greedy with credit, like meaning they want the validation for things. Like it never ends. So just imagine if every time I got on a platform, I had to shout out my 4th grade teacher, my 2nd grade teacher, 1st grade teacher for teaching me how to read and teaching me how to add and subtract and do all these different types of things. Like I would have to validate a lot of people just to be who I am because everybody played a role into me being who I am. So greed is not just a financial thing. To me, the most greedy people are people that don't have a sense of longevity, sometimes, so to speak. Um, Even in the business world, it's not about how much I can make off of every transaction. If I build this relationship with you and we establish trust, we establish credit, we establish all these pretty things that people want to throw around in normal relationships. But if we can put all that on paper and we can bring it all to the bank accounts and everything's great and good, yo, we might be able to do a lot of things. This is just what we did in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. What can we do in 20, 30, 40 years, right? People don't have a long view, a longevity sight of actually how far relationships can go. Greed is, look, right now, I need to get all I can get. You know what I'm saying? We could have did a 50-50 split. We could have split it up, you know what I'm saying, in a fair perspective, but fuck it, give me everything. Sometimes people like that even come up. I can't lie. But their relationships may not be as strong. You know what I'm saying? And going back to America, America been a bully for a long time. So now you have so many people like, yeah, sign me up. I'll go against them. Yeah, sign me up. Fuck it. they've been picking on me for all these years. Yeah. You don't want to be that type. Well, that's based on the person. Do you want to be that type of person that in the blink of an eye, 20, 30 years, 40 years later, a million of your enemies could come together because you've been bullying everybody? Or do you want to be the person that not really is so-called stuck on greed? Because in actuality, it really is enough to go around for everybody. I'm weary of the kind of guys that, yo, we go out, boom, night's good, shit's popping, women picking and choosing. Look, we're not supposed to fight over anything. We're not supposed to fight over who's spending the most money. We're not supposed to fight over who's getting the most females, who's getting the most attention, who's getting nothing, because it's enough to go around for everybody. Big Meech did that little famous what was that DVD where he was like, look, man, we got different types of H's and all this stuff, and we got he's like, there's plenty to go around for everybody. If it's exclusive to you, it's exclusive to you. But he was like, we don't fight over that. We don't fight over that. And even if you study that whole era of BMF and how they got that longevity, yo, they kind of like shared everything. But that's another story. I would just simply say on a longevity level, if you really just look at greed, it fucks up a lot of things. It fucks up even something simple as you look at these NBA teams, NFL teams. What happens when they win a championship, 2 or 3 or 4? They got to split the team up because somebody's going to say, well, if you really pay attention to it, we wouldn't have won it if it wasn't for what I did. Then you're going to have the people that might have cut the grass for the people to practice. Well, if they didn't cut the grass the way they cut the grass, they wouldn't have won a championship. There's going to be somebody that passed out the Gatorade and be like, well, if I didn't give him the Gatorade bottle when I did, y'all probably wouldn't have won, so I need a pay increase. Everybody get pay increases, guess what? We're going to run out of money. We got to split the team up. We split the team up, nobody get no more rings. But, hey, you happy. You got your paycheck. So focus on a dynasty and how we can keep the dynasty together. Void of just give me my paycheck now up front and let me get all I can get right now. So you got it.
All right. In the words of capitalism and business, there's another saying that some of us know. What is that? Greed is good. So, some of y'all know that famous quote, some of y'all don't, especially if you was in the sales background or not. But like I said, greed is definitely a negative thing, but I can also see it as a positive thing, depending on how it's going to be used, right? So, one of the things they did in the contract world, right? This is where the government infrastructure comes into place and actually does something that's beneficial for small businesses. Is where the tyrants can't get everything, right? That's why they have to be able to give contracts to small businesses, minorities, or whether it's women, black women, whatever it is. It gives you an opportunity where it proves that, listen, you can't always run everything. You're going to have to at least take one of these mini contractors or startups underneath you. So, as I was saying, the playing field is definitely there. It's just up to you if you're going to go out there and make things happen. Now, one thing I want to talk about when it comes to human nature is, can we rewire certain behavior patterns that are more instinctively being driven on social media basis, right? I'm seeing a lot of things getting rewired by influencers, quote unquote, uh, actors, comedians. I don't think you understand, like, the smallest things they do, it will literally impact the next person, next person, next person, next person. And this is why the influence part is also positive and negative, just depending on who's using that as well. I like seeing certain people do a lot of positive things. It keeps me flowing right now. One of my boards right now, shit, got it right here, says donate once a week to a charity. You know what I'm saying? It's the small things like that that you can put into play a a charity, small business, startups. I do the smallest things where I feel like my dollar can be impactful to an individual, even if I never meet them. Right? I want to put that in perspectives when it comes to human nature, that a lot of things are basically you. My favorite quote personally I made was, "You are an example of what to do and what not to do." If we always had better examples of positive things, I feel like the world would be a more positive impact. But one thing I learned is that things that you might see negative, somebody might see as positive. So you have conflicts between the two because it all depends on the individualism and perspectives. That's one of the most powerful things alone, because you can't tell somebody they're wrong when they feel like they're right, and then if it's multiple validations on either side, then you just had a neutral standpoint. So I would say be like I said, be conscious of that as you move forward as well. Uh, Also, be very, what's the word I want to use for this? I would say be very careful on how you mold in the youth as well, right? One of the things we brought up was how we know individuals, if they lose a fight, parent will be like, "Hey, are you all right? You good? Okay. Well, don't worry. I'm gonna take care of you." On the other perspective, you lost that fight. Listen, you better go win that fight. I'm gonna beat your ass when you get home. So the influence of that alone is still on a human nature basis because you have one that's more primal, and then you have one that's more nurturing. So when it comes to that type of interaction, like I said, just be careful on how you mold the youth because how they take it into life and perspective is the reason how they're going to interact with everybody else in the world, depending on their experience. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Uh, Giving a caveat to that, I think a counter to not even fucking greed at all is just do more, be more productive. Like I feel like even going back to the most darkest space, if you hustling, 9 times out of 10, the people that caught the most time, got the most persecutions, is the people that's all they had,
Uh-huh.
versus people that had different things they was involved in. So the way you counter greed, good or bad, is just be more productive, do more, to where every transaction, every deal is not your all. You have multiple resources at this particular point. So I feel like if you look at the world and you see the world as a big place, a big space, I don't have to kill you over building a building right here because I understand real estate. I understand how much land is out there. Look, I just do the deal here and I go do another deal somewhere else. You don't stress over every little thing, so to speak. So learning the rules of capitalism and business, it just really comes to mind like, who do you study and where do you learn these things from? Um, One of the things I did recently is I studied Mercedes-Benz and Henry Ford. And in doing so, simultaneously, well, uh, I found a moment of being serendipitous. I found something I was looking for, that's serendipity. So I'm listening to a video on Mercedes Benz. And look, bro started that company 3, 4 times over. Henry Ford started his company 3, 4 times over, times that. Went to investors. They didn't like what he was doing after they started something. Boom. Voted him out. He come back with something else. Boom. Mercedes Benz, they did the same thing. You wouldn't even have a Mercedes Benz if it wasn't for his wife. His wife actually took on all the budgeting, all the money invested, all that, because he had nothing at the time period. Henry Ford, I think on his second or third company that he started, it flaked because he didn't make the right moves according to his investors. And that's how you had Cadillac come into play. A guy stepped in, took what he started, and then he flipped that energy into what now became Cadillac. So when we study, quote unquote, how these big players came into play, it wasn't greed necessarily because they had nothing when they was building these companies. They just had perseverance, connections, networking skills, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, throw that out there. The more resourceful you are, the less greedy you are naturally. You don't look at everything as being your last, but the caveat to greed is protection. Protect yourself. Protect yourself don't mean take everything from others or the next person. It just means protect yourself for the work that you actually put in, right? So that's my caveat to that. Um, Another place I could take it, we got it in the title, is accountability. This is a big word. Um, I don't think people really understand accountability. If I hear somebody argue about who's right and who's wrong, I understand that you didn't really take accountability. If I listen to people try to play the victim role, you don't really understand accountability because even a victim has a space that's very critical. Maybe you didn't attract the circumstances that came onto you, right? Let's just say you're the victim within that space, but you're no longer the victim after that. You still make a conscious decision of how do you take this experience. If you allow this experience to cripple you and scar you or make you aggressive or make you whatever for the rest of your life, you're not a victim at that moment. You're making a conscious decision to be a bully, to be an aggressive person based on this trauma. So trauma, accountability, they play a part, but just accountability alone, a lot of people really don't want to take into fact, like if we look at something as traffic, right? Imagine how traffic would be if people just had consideration for the next person, right? I was on my way to the podcast. I'll keep it G, y'all. I'm in the fast lane. I'm doing by, what's the song saying? Doing by 80 in the fast lane, some shit like that, right? I couldn't do 80 in the fast lane because there was a car in front of me that was going by 65. The car on the lane next to it, because it's two lanes, well, I ain't tripping on them doing 65. They in the right lane. They can do what the fuck they want to do. But you in the fast lane. Have some consideration and get your ass over to where you belong. Why is you in the fast lane? So a lot of people don't look at that. Look, you know you're not going to make a right turn on red. It's traffic hours. Why is you in the right lane? Have some consideration. You feel me? Like some people don't really look at life this way. I don't block intersections. I don't do that because somebody may, even though I'm sitting in traffic, it don't mean a person within the intersection got to sit in traffic. They still get a free flow. So when we talk about human nature and accountability, it's so basic as how we drive. It's so basic as how we do simple things. If you're not always considering another human being, I think you have a problem. Consideration is supposed to be always at the forefront of your brain. Like, and it's not just so much on the, even on the chivalry level. I like what you brought up earlier in the conversation. Look, the same speed that I would open a door for a woman or an old person, I open a door for another man. If I'm within the full capacity, with the full restraints of opening the door for you, it's not causing me no time. It's not making me late for nothing, bro. I'm gonna hold the door for you. Like, it ain't nothing like that. And what I've seen in certain situations, let's say I hold the door open for, you know, a dude and his family. He like, all right, bet, I appreciate that. Boom. Without us even exchanging words, bet. What happens? As soon as I walk, boom, he grabbed the door for me. Boom, I go through. Whoever I'm with, we go through.
Double door, the double doors at that restaurant, baby. There's one door to get in.
Yeah.
That weight room, there's another door to get
Right.
into that. Yeah. It's just
So,
simple,
right.
simple shit.
Consideration goes a long way. I just had to go on that rant. I probably do a double up on consideration, but yeah. What you got on human nature and consideration, man? I know
Yeah.
I'm not the only person that got road rage and all these different types of things. So, what you
Listen,
got on that, man?
I was raised by the players, pimps, and all. Let me stop. Oh man, listen. Oh my goodness, I gotta excuse my randomness sometimes, man. It just happens, though. You know, but I'm always courteous. You know. One thing when you talk about accountability, man, I was about to bring up the sign language, man. Y'all be doing that shaming, insults, guilt, need to be right. You know, the famous KS words. Man, I literally had watched something today, man. It was crazy. So, a woman had got caught cheated on by a boyfriend, right? And it went from her getting caught to, listen, I was facing abandonment issues. I've been missing my grandpa. And listen, I've been on my own since 12 years old. I was like, God damn. I was like, wow. It went from,
Join the club,
yeah,
bro.
like, yo, it went from like, yo, you just got caught to, well, I got all these issues of why I did it, you know? I was like, wow. Oh, man. And then somebody, there was a man within the comments, he was like, listen, if your girl cheats, it's part of your fault too. And I was like, yo, y'all be, and this is another thing. Y'all got to be careful of enablers. Enablers are destructive. They're the ones who enable your bad fucking behaviors. You see it all the time. Like, I talked about it when it came to the Breakfast Club. I was like, listen, Angela Yee, are you watching? I think you look good. But you're an enabler. Every time something ever happened that was bad, terrible, or destructive, you enable that behavior. You're like, no, it's okay. Well, it's okay for a girl to do that. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, yeah, I gotta understand. Enablers are one of the most destructive peoples to human nature, right? So you to encourage bad behavior, to encourage to do the wrong things, to be encouraged to do something that's not how would you say upright given.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. Listen, I got rid of dudes that enable bad behavior when groups I was with. I always said, listen, I have no problem joining organizations and groups. But once I see them move a certain way, I don't never say I'm leaving. I just leave. Like I don't want to be around that. I see the enablers. I see there's no guidance. There's no structure. People not sticking to the rules, but they want to put the rules on other people. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that that cause civilization to destruct. Because you got to remember, somebody's feeding your behavior. If a person checks you like, nah, don't do that, you would see different outcomes, right? I remember in a situation not too long ago. I was like, man, I'm saying, I was like, man, fuck this, right? So I'm kind of like going through a situation where my emotions kind of get into me, but I had to check them. But I remember somebody that was next to me at the time, like, yeah, fuck this, man. Like, listen, go do what you want to do. And I had to check that situation. Like, hold on, bro. Why would you want to push somebody to uh, self-destruct or do something that's destructive in a situation? You should be able to tell that person, like, listen, get some air, calm down. Listen, we're gonna all go through this. Like I said, bro, be careful of the influences around you and be aware of enablers. Now, going back to what you were saying, the word. What was the word you were talking about?
Yeah.
Accountability.
Consideration.
Be considerate. I'm always considerate. Being conscious of consideration has helped me out in a lot of situations. I met up with a friend the other day, and as we're talking, she's like, "Why do you pause sometimes when you talk?" I said, "I want to make sure I filter out my words in a manner that gets the right communication out to where we can, build up from there." Her response was like, "Well, if you gotta take pauses before you talk, that means like some things about you is not genuine." I was like, "No, it's better I be considerate of your personality and I don't randomly speak or speak in a manner where I talk to you, it doesn't get through to you. You have to be considerate of your actions, words you use, uh, people." Like I said, I didn't have some of the most. I can't talk about my. I feel a part of me believes my life is good because I'm a very considerate person, but it you want to have that ability to filter out things, to process things properly, and just lend a helping hand when it's able to, and you'll see a lot of difference in your life. One thing I always say is, it doesn't matter what they say in front of you; it's what they say behind you. If they say good things about behind your back, hey, listen, you're a great person. But hey, if the things is always bad, you might not be that considerate of a human being, or it can be something else. But you get the point.
Yeah, and let's keep it G. Some people are so smooth, they, they know how to be the most evil people in the world, but cover it up and code it so properly and be so diplomatic that, hey, like some of our most famous presidents or beloved heroes, but they did the most dirt in the world. You just never saw it because they knew the more I give back, the more people are going to see me for this. I could hide all my dirt. So it's always a con and a pro to everything and a good and a bad. But the energy is there for you to play it, use it how you use it. Um, One thing I would say is consideration is loaded. Look, if I do business with somebody, like if I did anything with somebody, I feel like I owe you something. Like anything, consideration is literally that deep and that simple. It's feeling like you owe people something because you have a combined energy into a project or something. So you're always gonna go above and beyond. The minute I slack, the minute I show my ass, the minute I don't give you 110%, I feel like I'm going against not just my consideration for that person, but I'm going against the consideration I have for myself as well. Because I don't want fake love from nobody. I don't want that whole like I played you and I know you loving me because I played you. I want to really give you real good, strict, like real energy and know that okay, that energy was appreciated. So
Yeah.
you have to keep that in mind as well. That's how consideration works. A lot of people can't work together because sometimes you lose consideration for the people that's closest to you because y'all so fucking close. Like,
Yeah.
and then somebody will go above and beyond for a stranger, and then shit on the family member or the person that's right there because they lose consideration for you because they know you gonna be there. We good. We locked in. Let me go work on this other relationship. That's not how life works. Sometimes multitasking can work for you, can work against you. You can do too much at one time and then lose the core relationships while you're trying to build new relationships. So that's how consideration works as well. I always give 110% because you want somebody to give you that in return. And things can actually progress faster and further within that particular space. And another thing I can say is look, everybody got a sad story, everybody got a crazy card that they can pull. Everybody got it. Everybody got some tears that they ain't let out, that they can press the button and start crying. Everybody got a story that they could tap into where they was traumatized as a kid, probably black, white, Hispanic, Asian, white. It don't matter. Everybody has something. Everybody has trauma. So in the real world, your problems really don't weigh on the scale higher than anybody else's because everybody got a story. You could be broke, come from poverty, and say, look, poverty was just so, poverty killed me. I was ready to end my life. Somebody could say, look, I was just so fucking rich, all this money around me, I grew into, I ain't want none of this shit.
Man, she get that shit here.
You can't
Get that
say
shit
who.
here, man. Get that shit here. I'll tell you what to
You can't say who's really, you know what I'm saying, got the other person beat because what you're looking at as something that deprives you from life, well, hey, they looking at it as look, them having it deprived them of life. So who's right, who's wrong, who's really the victim? Nobody. It's your mentality, right? So at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of things happen. I don't like the N word, not nigga, but
yeah.
narcissist, but yeah, that's another N word that just bigger than that one. So what I've seen is a lot of people will be very destructive, and after the destruction, fall back to being a emotional psychotic person that's unstable and a victim. So they want you to excuse their bullshit because life was just so rough and so tough, and they got unresolved issues and blah blah blah
I
blah blah.
ain't listen to none of
Right?
that shit, bro.
So
I ain't listen to none of that.
so what did the Godfather say? Oh, you was abused. Hmm. You didn't leave it. Okay. So did you go get help? Like you got a whole
Yeah,
checklist for people like that.
hope
Like
somebody,
you
hope
can't play
somebody.
this hurt card. You mentally off. You're unstable. Blah blah blah. What did you do to fix it? Then they get quiet and mute. Oh, okay. Got you now. See, sometimes you just got to go along with the bullshit.
Just for
Don't go against it, and then you will get faster results. All right, man, I hear you. Man, that sounds dramatic. That was deep. Have you ever sat down to talk to somebody? Have you ever done this? Have you ever looked up holistic healing? Have you ever, you know what I'm saying? Have you ever, look, shouts out to the conscious community. Some of them people won't go sitting down in front of a doctor, but they'll pull up their birth chart. They'll see how they planets align with this, and they'll take it to a full scale. They'll read books. They'll go to master teachers. They'll do whatever they need to do. Change their diet, change everything, just to see if this gives them a different reality in life. Look, I'm all about work. I don't want to hear your story about how life fucked you. I want to see what are you doing to counter that, right? Everybody got a story. It doesn't matter what color you are, what size you are, what you come from, what you don't come from. Everyone has a story at the end of the day. So let's just be about results because my story can't outweigh somebody else's story. It can only do that within my mind. I can only tell myself I had it rougher than somebody else. That other person may not feel that way, right? And that's valid. So, needless to say, everybody got a sad story. Everybody got a sob story. What do we do after that? That's the human nature that I want to see. People that push and continue to climb and grow no matter what. Not people that sit back. Because if I sit back with you and we all just talk about our problems, nobody's going to create a solution. We'll find comfort in talking about problems, and we'll see the world so rigged. You know, the wealthy is just going to be wealthy and the poor going to be poor.
So
All
I'm
right, bet. Look,
bonding.
and this is another way we can talk about that. The wealthy being wealthy, the poor being poor. Look, you can make $1 million. You put $1 million in the bank. Bet. Guess how much? Guess the rights you got to that $1 million. 10%, bro. If it's in the bank, you only have rights to 10%. 90% goes to the bank. That that's how it works. If you want to take out what 100K, which would be the 10 out of that, you gotta wait on it. You got to fill out documents, paperwork. You got to get approved for your money that comes out of the bank that you're putting in. And if they want to take away all that shit, the only thing that's insured is what? What is it?
Yeah,
250? 250 by
different
the
seconds.
FDIC regulations. That's it. That's how it works. So you come from poverty. You never had that amount of money. Boom, back. You never had nothing. You got a sob story. What happens to the millionaire to get all his shit taken away? All right. We don't have those type of sob stories for both sides. So I'll shut up on that, man. The crazy cars and sad stories. Everybody got those.
Man, I never been one that's really interested in a lot of this stuff. This is where people are like, I'm very nonchalant.
Oh, that's
And the person is like, well, what are you doing? First time, like, well, what are you doing? Like,
cool.
one thing I learned where people don't want to just be open and honest is that when you omit information that you know is detrimental, meaning like you know it's the key aspect why you do it, but you omit the information because you don't want it to be seen a certain way. Listen, we are going to be judged. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. We are human beings judged. It's just a natural thing. But it's important that whoever judge you, they judge you in the correct manner. Or when you got judged, you're able to correct your behavior, right? Like I said, when I told X, I'm like, bro, I'm used to people who talk like Kevin Samuels. It was a reactivation point for me. Meaning, like, just hearing that directness, that tone, the logic skills behind it, it reactivated a lot of things in me from when I was getting mentored as a kid, child, to like early on to my high school, but like middle school through high school, I became like kind of rebellious. Like, fuck that shit. I think we all went through that stage. But when it comes to your actions and activities, you do need to be conscious of things that you're participating in. That's why I always say, listen, whether you want to believe it or not, sometimes you're a willing participant in situations you may feel like you had no choice. It's all about how it comes about and how you move throughout that activity. How you bounce back is, did you learn? Main thing is people don't learn stuff, so they never get over it. Or when it comes to relationships, they never learn and heal from it, so they just rather deal with somebody else. I talked to X about before. Like I asked a woman I was talking to before. Like, listen, when you heal and you work on these, we can come back together. That person decided to proceed in another relationship, and it getting very hurt in that relationship. But you have to reevaluate your situations, your circumstances, your activities, and that's why I always say you got to be able to course correct. A lot of people don't course correct. In order for me to keep moving forward in life, I have to course correct. Sometimes I reevaluate myself so much, right? We talk about duality at its finest. The energy you choose to act upon, even that has its own streams of consciousness. People don't even know that. So, so whether, let's say, let's talk about power. We say Saint Patrick. We say ghost. Even when Saint Patrick was Saint Patrick, he still had an energy that was on a high note and a lower point. Even with Ghost, when he was in that stage, even your streams of consciousness have certain activities that you'll have to master to get a better outcome when you tap into that energy. So what I'm basically just getting at is like, you need to be so invested in yourself, you understand no matter what energy you tap into, you're gonna make the best decisions for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess one of my closing points would be, look, at the end of the day, everybody got to take into consideration that you are where you are based on your own
Actually.
decisions.
Uh-huh.
Right. Even if the odds are stacked against you, that's great. That's fine. What do we do after that? Like, what's the next play? What's the next move? So many people who move forward and never study history. That's why you have people that study history so much, is because they want to find out, where did the ancestors go wrong and how do I counteract their mistakes, right, with my mistakes and move forward faster. But at the end of the day, you are where you are because you made decisions. No one fucked you over 100% of the times. No one plays you 100% of the times. You were a willing participant. A lot of people put Kanye on chopping block because he said, not slavery, but 400 years was a choice. And when he broke it down, he said it was more slaves than it was slave masters. What is he saying? Even if you look at different books, you look in Think and Grow Rich, we talk about that in Think and Grow Rich, where you say, look, where there's a slave master, there are slaves. Uh, they have a relationship, whether you believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because one slave could easily say, look, kill me, or I'm going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
We see how that play out. We celebrate, we disassociate ourselves from people that talk like Ye, but we celebrate people like Harriet Tubman. Like, that's a contradiction. You know what I'm saying? We watch Black Panther, and when what's the dude name who said what he said, man, death is better than bondage.
Yeah.
Before you lock me up and let me live, Killmonger, just throw me in the water with my ancestors. That was actually a thing where a lot of ancestors was just like, I'm not going over there and doing that. Throw me in the water. Throw me in the middle passage. Fuck it. I ain't going out like that. Right? And you have people that took the Django route. Like, you have different people that took different routes. But what am I saying? It's not about slavery and all that shit, but how you live, you made a deal at some point to live that way, right? For every job, and you just choose to be the person that's working the job, and you never build nothing for yourself. You made that decision at the end of the day, right? So if you look at cheating and you like, oh, men and women cheat and they just do this and they do that, I bet. Look, if you stay in those relationships after the damage and all these things have happened, now we're talking about choice, free will. We can't play the victim card no more. And then some people may be able to philosophize on why they do the things they do, and they may actually have some unvisited trauma. That's cool too, but everybody makes a choice at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So what you stand for, what you tolerate, what you allow is how you choose to live your life. If you choose to cut off everybody that cheat and do you dirty and do you wrong, but then you still got family members that reach into your pockets every chance they feel like it because y'all family. All right, cool, bet you cut off the cheaters, but you ain't cutting off your family members that's cheating on you because they cheat in life. They cheating life on you. They're not gonna work and put in the grit and the grind and the effort that you put into life. They just gonna copy off your paper. They just gonna ask you for money when they need it. Fuck it. I ain't gotta go to work and work 10, 12 hours. I know such and such got it. So you're cutting off one cheater, but you're allowing a multitude of other cheaters to still eat off your plate. You got to look at everything in a wide perspective. You get what you get out of life based on the decisions that you make and the deals that you make. It's deal or no deal, baby. That's how life is. It's fucking deal or no deal.
Hot
Yeah.
potato, hot potato. Tomato, tomato.
So word is wise. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
man.
Your reality is based off your decisions. You know what I'm saying? And even if you doubt yourself to make optimal leaps in life, that's you. You doubt yourself. The next person didn't doubt themselves. And look, even if they still doubt themselves to this very day, they got a team of people around them that's going to push them and motivate them to make sure they overcome those obstacles. Cardi B just did that feature with Big Lotto, and she was like, "This shit was hard. I had to say you and LSU, and it was hard." I'm like, all right, but she's telling you, look, this shit was hard, but I went through it. I got it done. We don't know if she had some writers involved. We don't know if people was in her ear saying, "Hey, look, bitch, you Cardi B, you can do this." We don't know, but it just shows that everybody got doubt. Everybody got obstacles. What do you do with that energy? Can't blame nobody else for that. You gotta take accountability. I like it when people be so successful and so real. They'll tell you, "I ain't no more talented than you. I ain't no more smarter than you. I just made
Work
different
harder.
decisions than you."
Just somebody
So,
that work harder.
all right, man, I'm done with that,
Man,
man. Anything else
good,
you
man.
want to?
That good, man, because you boring me, man. You boring. Oh God, I love myself,
Like
man.
that, like
Oh no,
that.
man. I ain't got nothing else, man. I believe we touched the bases. Human kindness, activities went from the positives to the negatives. You know what? I guess I asked the final question. That was your final question slash rant slash whatever you do. You know what you do, man. You know what you do. Anyway, my question to you would be more so what would be some activities somebody can learn to better understand how to communicate in a positive light?
Damn, to communicate better. Um,
When you communicate better,
um,
a lot of things can come into place: accountability, consideration, uh, pretty much a lot of things you was talking about.
I would say simply like observation. Um,
Sure.
for me personally, um, I observe how people respond to you and how you communicate. And even though I feel like I'm a pretty good communicator, a lot of times I realize I'm not in personal life. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I feel like I'm sparing somebody else's feelings when really I'm creating a barrier to where we can't connect because they don't know the real me at that moment. And then I think I'm saving their feelings by not being 100% authentic or even 90% authentic, right? So you got to look at the results. If you're doing the same things over and over with your communication and you're not building longevity within your relationships, if you're raising children, you're involved in relationships, business relationships, and people just can't connect with you. Y'all arguing more than you're building. You're separating more than you're keeping people. Like you got to go back to the drawing board and just look at how you expressing yourself. And even for the best communicators out there, that's a challenge, but you'll always find answers. You just gotta look at the results. I like gardening, what's it called, agriculture. I like that because you can do so many things right and so many things wrong. Plant fucking die. If the plant die, it don't matter how many things you did right versus what you did wrong. Fucking plant dead.
He
I can kill
did,
so many
man.
plants in my
He
life
did.
just to keep my. I got like what 4 or 5 plants now, and they popping, they thriving. But it took so many years of me like moving the plant inside, bringing it outside, replanting it this way, not doing this, adding all type. Look, you just gotta look at your results. If you don't have, if you feel like you this person with this type of potential, right, or whatever it is, your life should reflect it. Maybe not per se within a bank account in particular moments and spaces, but people should be drawn to you. That's another thing you should look at. If you feel like you're this great person and you got everything that's like that can lure people in, why don't you attract so many people a day? Why do people shy away from you? Why are your relationships failing? Like your kid don't listen to you. Like I'm saying, you gotta start thinking about all these different types of things. When you walk into a room, do people want you to be in a room, or do they wait for you to walk out the fucking room so they can talk about you? Like it don't matter what you think about yourself and the potential that you see within yourself. Do the world and do the people around you see it? I think that's the easiest way to look at yeah
Hard. No,
communication skill.
I be talking that shit too, man. I be like, listen, some of y'all value yourself on a level that's not even there. But hey, fuck it. Go
Right.
ahead and walk into the world and believe
It's
whatever you want to believe.
important.
Because I always say, listen, there's always work to do. I literally, in fact, during that meetup with my friend, I had to ask her this question. I said, "Do you seek improvement?" She was like, "Okay, that's kind of different. Why you ask me that?" I was like, "Listen, people don't seek improvement. It tells me a lot about them. If you don't seek improvement, you basically say you're perfect. There's always different ways you can improve in your life, man." So I was like, just from there on, it was just like that. That's why I was like, listen, wherever you think you're at, you should be able to match it in your life. If I believe I should have the baddest chick in Houston, fuck. If I believe I should have the baddest chick in Houston, I better be doing some activities that produce me having the baddest chick in Houston. You know what I'm saying? Listen, one thing I love about Kevin Samuels is every man that really knows, look, beauty does cost, bro. It does cost. Listen, my homeboy dated a model one time. Dated a model one time. Throughout the whole time of his relationship, he paid for a majority of it. He paid for everything. He said, bro, you know the times when I was struggling, she would help me out. But you know what she would buy herself? Like what? Makeup, hair conditioner, shampoos. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, she's always buying things to make sure she stepped up, kept, unless I poured into it. I was like, wow. Like I said, woman was gorgeous though. Can't lie about it. But like I said, hey, beauty costs. So depending on like who you interacting with, you know, some stuff does come with a price. Everything comes with a price. Fuck that. Everything comes with a price.
I thought y'all fellas a gym out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Because grew up a little, a little interesting. What I noticed is, everything come with a cost, beauty come with a cost, but I seen a lot of dudes that didn't have the actual liquid, the money, but they had everything else. They had the personality, the character, the swag, whatever. I seen a lot more of that than I seen the opposite. So, needless to say, build yourself up on all levels, character as well as money and income. For some people, the money and income work. It get them certain access points, and then that's just how far as it goes. They right back in the court. She's trying to take it all. She's trying to take it all. You got situations. Yeah, you got
I know
situations.
people got money carrots and shitty. You wonder why they don't get far.
You got dudes that never touch that amount of bread, never touch that amount of paper. Got 2, 3 families out there that they ain't even in, and them women would never take them to court and never put them on. I'm saying words to wise. I ain't saying push peas. I'm just saying build your character as well as you build your money up as well. I'm just saying everything come with a cost, no doubt. But I'm just saying there's some dudes out there. Hey, look, Kevin Samuels always talked about this. He said, look, it's always gonna be the high value man that make the money, and it's always gonna be the guy that can get it off the lip.
You said
you always have it all. You want to have it all. You don't want to just have the money. So yeah, I'm done with that, man. Good job.
Listen, I'm ready for the money now. I think my character's good.
Yeah. Get the money for sure. Yeah, all right.
I want the money now. Like, I don't think I'm good now.
Yeah. Get in your bag, stay in your bag. All right. So yeah, we appreciate y'all for rocking with us, sharing your time with us. As always. Talking That Talk official podcast, tap into their YouTube channel. We got that link in both of our bios up top. We got No Ordinary Brother. I go by the name of King Exodus. Most definitely make sure you follow us on IG. And we appreciate your time. Thank you for watching.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.